I don't mean to have a pop at anybody, but the Reform leadership don't seem to understand. They seem to think it's incompetence, there's something wrong with the Home Office, and there's something wrong with this, and there's something wrong with that. Not at all. This is quite deliberate. Which is why you don't need the brains of a bloody archbishop to see that it's happening, do you? If you're going to offer people 3 free meals a day, hotel accommodation, a reasonably good hotel, preferential medical care, and believe me, it's preferential medical care they get, don't be surprised if they all turn up. And they're turning up. If you want to turn the tap off, you take away all those sort of freebie-weebies that you would get. It's almost like a tour brochure guide, isn't it? It's like a tour guide. Hey, come to sunny wherever it is. Come to sunny Spain, and the drinks are free. It's an all-in package, and we've got a swimming pool. It's marvellous. Come here. What we're doing is saying, come here. This is absolutely marvellous. Why do we think they're all coming here? Because it's a very good ticket. And I would have suggested that when I was a young man, and they're all young men. All young men. Yeah. When I was a young man and somebody at the American government said, hey, come to California, stay in a 4-star hotel, 3 meals a day. It's got a swimming pool, and he wouldn't believe the crumpet.
Does that mean women?
Yeah.
Right, go on.
I'd be off. I'll have some of that.
I'll have some of that crumpet.
So instead of commuting the train to the city every bloody day, which is what I did.
Yeah. Yeah,
who's surprised they're coming? How could you be surprised?
Is there not an issue that's almost unsolvable around an ageing population, ageing working population? Not enough people to support the ageing population, so we have to bring people in from elsewhere. And unfortunately, the quickest and easiest way to do that is bringing in people who might not share our values.
I've heard that argument before, and of course I don't buy it at all. Now, one of the reasons I fell out a little bit, it was a minor reason, was that I didn't see immigration as the same problem as UKIP did in the day. Because the people who were coming in were lots of Latvians, Poles and Czechs who came here to work. They came here to work and did work and contribute to society. In which case, that argument you just made would be perfectly valid. We do need these people coming into work, although with the caveat that we have lots of young people in this country who have developed a lifestyle of dependency who don't want to work, which is another issue in its own right. But if you look at the people coming at the moment en masse in the boats, they're not here to work. They're not here to work. They're not like the Ugandan Asians, who were all entrepreneurs, shopkeepers, workers, who as soon as they got here were paying for themselves almost, in a wonderful and entrepreneurial way. These people aren't they. These people aren't they. These people aren't going to be carers. And I bumped into a chap that drove his car off the road the other day outside our village with a West Indian accent. And I thought he was a doctor that I knew from a few years back that I'd bumped into. I said, "You're not Dr. So-and-so." He said, no, I'm a carer. And he said, "Oh, all right." I said, "Okay." And we had a little chat and helped him get some help to get his car out of the ditch.
Yeah, you just racistly thought he was the same guy.
Well, I thought he was the same guy because I only saw the previous guy once in my life, and it was 5 years ago, and they were the same age and from the same, the same West Indian islands. So it was an easy mistake to make for an old man.
Sure.
But anyway, but he came here to work. He was here to work.
Yeah.
Is he welcome? Well, of course he's welcome.
Yeah.
And I would think it was ridiculous. Is your Polish plumber not welcome? Of course he's welcome.
Yeah.
Is your Czech dentist not welcome? Of course he's welcome. But not boatloads of people who have no intention of doing anything at all except sponge on the state. And there are parts from other parts of the world who are here, and you wouldn't believe the corruption and that goes on in places like West Yorkshire and parts of the Midlands. I mean, Birmingham's bankrupt. One of the most cities, a leading city of empire, the second city of empire, is now bankrupt because we don't run it anymore. It's nothing to do with racism or anything like that. It's a question of pragmatism and common sense, which seems to have flown out of the window.
Gosh. So how do we change it? How do we make sure we get people who want to work here?
Well, first of all, I would suggest the first thing that we need to do is to make sure that the people who are of the indigenous population, which is a word that seems to get me into some kind of trouble, but the indigenous population, people who were born here and whose parents were born here, who are in their late teens or early 20s, who aren't working, we need to find out why they're not working. Why are you not working? In which case, why is there litter? Well, shouldn't be any litter in the country. If we've got youngsters on the dole, perfectly physically fit, you shouldn't see a scrap of litter, should you? It's about picking up litter.
Yeah.
Getting
Well, the state
8 o'clock
covers
in the
that.
morning.
Doesn't the state cover that? And that's more public borrowing and things.
Well, if they did a job of work for their dole, and this was tried in Wisconsin about 30 years ago, and it worked wonderfully. You would be amazed about the number of young, healthy people came off the dole at the speed of light when they had to turn up at 8 o'clock in the morning and get a broom. And so it works. Plus, and there's something more to help these kids who've been brought up in this very bad way of lifestyle choice on welfare, which is a bad thing. It's a bad thing for everybody. They then have a work program ticket. So they say, Freddie, whoever the supervisor is from the town council or whatever, he's a very good worker, never late, always here, bang on time, good lad. He's now got something to show an employer. And then you have to look at your minimum wage problem. Now, it may be all right in London, your minimum wage being 8, 9, 10, 11 pounds an hour, whatever it must be, I can't remember because it goes up every 5 minutes. Yeah. You won't get anybody to come and work unless you're paying them that. If you've got a pub or something in the hospitality industry in Yorkshire, as you know, as a Leeds University man, you will know this, a barman there, if you have to pay him £11 an hour, £10 an hour, you simply will not open on Monday night, which is a bit dead. You won't serve food all week. You only serve food at the weekend. That's what actually happens in reality. If you're a small business or a publican or somebody, that's the reality of what happens. Why do they not know this in the government? Because nobody in government has ever done a real job. We don't have a single person now on the front bench who's ever been in business at all. How can you run a country when people have no business experience? It's university, straight into politics, and then a safe seat when they've cut their teeth on a few dummy seats and all the rest of it. They don't know anything. When you look at people like the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who I shared a panel with on Any Questions or something, it was many years ago, in Leeds, funny enough. And the BBC dude came up to me afterwards, and I'm no friend of the BBC, and they hate my guts. But even he came up and said, my God, she's a bit of a lemon, isn't she? And I said, yes. But of course, she stood in a Leeds seat. I can't remember which seat it was, South Leeds or something. They would vote in a dog turd if it had a red label on it, as indeed they almost have.
Meaning left for those outside the UK.
But that was the old working classes. That was the working class. Now, of course, they've been abandoned. Your ordinary working man now has no home. He has no political home. Your ordinary working guy, your artisan, for example. Your artisan, who is a one-man band, a chippy, a joiner, a cabbie, or something like that, who's in the wealth-creating sector. That is the wealth-creating sector. Has nowhere for his vote to go. What kind of system are we running?